Hello, hello. Welcome to the place for offbeat health professionals who have bravely swapped their healthcare hats for non-clinical creative caps. I'm Caitlin, a psychologist turned copywriter, and this is Healers with Hustles. We have a special guest today, Caitlin Cash, who's a social and digital media team leader at Queensland Health. So Caitlin leads a team of talented digital marketers who are best known for their viral "It's Okay to Poo at Work" content. Such good content. And so they create easily digestible, educational and on-trend health content that enhances health literacy, encourages healthier behaviours and demystifies medical jargon. Gosh knows we need more of that. And Caitlin is passionate about creating meaningful behaviour change to help people live better and healthier lives. Cool. All right. Well, welcome, Caitlin. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm really looking forward to hearing all about your story and also about your job. It sounds incredible. I found one of your posts that you did about the smegma campaign that was like really educational post. And I thought this is like incredible copywriting. I wonder who's behind it, and did a little bit of detective work and found you on LinkedIn, and I'm very thankful you replied. So thank you so much. But before we get into it, can you tell me a little bit about your journey and I guess your story and how you got into digital marketing?
Absolutely. First up, I want to give a shout out to the person who wrote the Smegma post, Lauren Murray. She is an incredible copywriter and designer and videographer and everything. So full credit to her for that post. And it's lovely to connect with you. It's great to be on the other side of the mic. I'm normally not in this position. So yeah, it's nice to put a different hat on for once. But yeah, my career. So I never really would have expected that I would work in socials. It actually didn't exist as a career path, or even the platforms didn't even exist when I was at uni. And I certainly never would have thought I'd be talking about poo and smegma or being in crazy weird videos. So I studied journalism at uni, international relations and Islamic studies. So my dream was to be a foreign correspondent. I wanted to be Sally Sarah, work in the Middle East. But, life happens, and that didn't really happen for me. And I ended up going into a different pathway for my career and ended up on the other side of communications in government media it was to start off with. So I initially worked for corrective services and moved across to the Department of Community Safety. So back then it was corrections, ambulance, fire, and SES. And that was a fantastic way to start off in government. You really can just cut your teeth on a million different things, natural disasters, deploying to cyclones up north, writing bushfire warnings, going to fatal house fires, managing big press conferences. And then socials came into that role in 2012. So I have been working in socials for just over 12 years. And I think that's quite unique to have a longer career in socials. Yeah, it's special too, because I suppose I've got to see the evolution of social media comms and government social media. And it's really, really changed from being on Facebook, basically, and Twitter to now it being a whole variety of skill sets that you need. You really need to be a gun at copywriting. You need to be able to shoot and edit video. You need to be able to graphic design, a whole lot of strategic thinking, the community moderation. It certainly has changed a lot in the last decade.
Hugely changed,
yeah. And that's been really nice to kind of be an observer and participant in that. So yeah, I worked at the Department of Community Safety and throughout all the different machinery of government changes. I've worked for regulatory bodies and then landed in Queensland Health in 2022 and love it and have been there since. So I work in the social and digital media team for the Department of Health, not in one of our wonderful hospital and health services. It's more the central department that supports and it's quite closely with all of the hospital and health service communication staff as well.
Oh, wow. It must be such a fascinating job. But like you said, if I wouldn't say fell into it, but an interesting career journey and path for you. You've named quite a few different changes, but I'm imagining you're someone who quite likes change then, and you're like kind of on the forefront and want to learn about a lot of things, because I should imagine a lot of people might go, oh, it's changing so much. I want to get out or change a job. What's that like for you?
I think it's really a core part of working for government. So, you have changes of government and different priorities, machinery of government changes. And I think that it's accepted as part of your job when you work as a public servant. But I find it quite exciting. I think you can never get bored of sameness. And even if you stay in the same job, you might not necessarily work for the same department, or your role description might change over time. So it certainly kept me engaged and excited about what I do. I stayed with the Department of Community Safety, and then it changed into Queensland Fire and Emergency Services. It's now the Queensland Fire Department. So I felt really loyal to the department I work for and engaged because it kept changing. And it not only was my role, but, the way we did our work and the environment and the political environment as well kept changing. So I quite like the movement and the difference of working in government, and the fact that the goalposts shift and you get to do a lot of different things, even though you're doing communications.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like what you said with all this huge spate of skills that you've got to have now when you work in communications. What does that look like? Like, how do you coordinate all of that with your team? Do you have big meetings? My memory of working for government is lots of meetings and lots of bureaucracy and things like that. But what does that look like in the Department of Health?
Yeah, definitely there's a lot of meetings and a lot of, bureaucracy, but not in the way that people might imagine. I think the team that I'm in now and the management that, oversees my team really trusts us. And we do have a lot of opportunity for creativity and a lot of creative freedom. The way it kind of works in our team is we have people who are our content creators. So they do
Mhm.
the copywriting, the designing, the videography. There's a different set of officers who do our big digital projects. So they look at, a bit of project management more so than the content creation. So they look after our podcast, our major video series, like our documentary that was released last week or the week before.
Oh, wow. Cool.
They look after blogs, EDMs, and we also do a lot of advertising services as well. So it is sort of a full service team of
Yes,
doing all
yeah.
things social and digital. And we have a lot of really great strategy and resources that back what we do. So we have very robust style guide. We have really
Mhm.
clear strategic direction. We have content guides for every health topic. We
Yeah.
have subject matter experts we can go to, check the latest research. We have behavioral scientists that work in our branch. So we make sure everything we do has a behavior change goal and is backed by behavioral science. So we're not sort of out there doing it on our own. We have a
Yeah.
lot of research and resources at our fingertips, which is so essential for working within the health context, I think, especially on social
Absolutely.
media. There's so
Mm.
much misinformation out
So
there.
much misinformation. That's yeah, exactly
Yeah.
what I was thinking. I don't know if I can't remember if I wrote that in my questions to you, but yeah, that was something that immediately popped up, with TikTok and things like that. It's just people can say whatever they want and they don't necessarily have the science behind it.
Yeah, which is so critical why, public health agencies should be on socials and should be trying to do
Mm.
socials well,
Oh,
because we have this
yeah.
unique position that where we do have, incredible clinicians that we can tap into and get their expertise broadcast on these channels. We make sure we source everything because people might not believe what we have to say. So we make sure, we have that source written into the copy so they can go and read up on
Mhm.
it on their own, or linking off to more information, or having that sense of responsibility to get it right as well. We really do our due diligence and make sure we have all of our facts vetted. So we don't let our community down. We want to make sure we're getting it right almost 100% of the time. And we do. I think there's a lot of safety nets to catch, just nuance or context or the way things are phrased, or making sure we're respectful and inclusive and mindful of the way that information is going to be perceived. We make sure it's so accessible for people to understand it, written in plain English. We use
Yes, I
inclusive
love that.
language. Everything is created with so much thought and intention
In
behind
mind,
it. And that's really cool. It's really great to work within an environment where that's important. And we have the
exactly.
capacity and time and the freedom to be able to put that heart and soul into the work that we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, having the values of really wanting to make sure that it's right on all those different levels, but then also the freedom and the time to be able to do that is so important. And I think that's what drew me to the post initially, not like only that it was like fun and creative, the one that was about like smegma, but it was how it was written. I thought it was incredible that it was just so accessible and like plain English. Exactly. I was like, hallelujah, like health information written in plain English. It was
Which
really
is so
exciting.
hard to do. You know, it's
It is.
so complex. It's medical. It's
Mhm.
really hard to simplify some of these topics that you could write 2,000 words on it if you were able
Absolutely.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it is a challenge. It's a blessing and a curse. You know, you feel like you're nailing it when you can get it so succinct and so clear.
Mhm.
But then it's really, really hard to do.
So hard. That's it. It's like, I think there's a saying by someone who says, I didn't have enough time, so I wrote a long letter instead of a short letter because it's so hard to make something concise, but still retain the information and get everything that you want to across. So
Absolutely.
it's really cool. So you must have good team members. But I also like what you said about that you have a really robust style guide, which I'm like, yes, that's like what I definitely help people with. How did you come across that? Or is that something that's always been there from more of a, what's like the word, like a kind of clinical government thing, but it's like just part of the job?
Yeah, well, there's the Queensland Health style guide, and then we have a separate
Yeah.
social media style guide that our team works from. And the reason why it was created is we had to have more variety stylistically with fonts and colors than is required by a corporate style
Mm.
guide. So we have pink and purple and yellow and orange, and we're not constrained by the Queensland Health colors of
Yes.
green and blue. And then we also have decorative fonts, which we've added in because you don't want to have this homogenous, very corporate looking presence, especially on Instagram. We also have a tone of voice guide in there. We also have
Yeah. Yeah,
information.
what does the tone of voice guide look like?
We have a persona that we imagine we're speaking to.
Awesome.
And
Glad you said this.
then, yeah, which is really helpful, I think, if people are looking to enhance their presence on socials and really clarify who they're speaking to and who they're showing up for. It does help to have that persona to really imagine them as a real person. And then further to that, we have, you know, very clear information about what sort of words we use, what grade level we're speaking to, the fact we use Hemingway to double check
Oh, you use
our,
Hemingway. Yes, it's so
yeah,
good, isn't it?
yeah, just to double check that accessibility. We also make sure our language is gender inclusive. We make sure it's inclusive for people with disabilities.
Yeah.
A simple thing like putting your emoji after a punctuation for screen readers, being mindful of that. Yeah, we really drill down into the how of speaking to our community. And
Mhm.
we're currently working on shifting our tone of voice. And
Oh, no way. Cool. Yep.
yeah, if you're a follower of Queensland Health, you probably would have noticed after the It's Okay to Poo at Work viral moment that we had that we did shift our tone of voice slightly, and we've started to make it a little bit more casual than we had. You know, we're calling our
Mm.
community besties and adopting a far more relatable, friendly tone of voice,
Yeah.
which it
Like,
already
mhm.
was. It already was
Yeah.
friendly and relatable, but we've leaned into that
Leans
harder.
into, yeah. Is that from that post or like how did that come about? Was it a natural thing or?
Yeah, I think our presence has evolved more
Mhm.
recently. And with that, of course, the tone of voice change
Yeah,
happens.
cool.
And our community tone of voice has changed. We've noticed that there's this fandom sort of within our comment section of people who are looking out for our posts and saying, oh, I wait to see what you're going to post every morning, or they want to do like a meet and greet, or they're asking for merch, or they're just really interested in who the social media team
Yeah.
are. Our presence online sort of is meeting them where they are a bit more. So
Cool.
it's changed from people asking us medical questions
Mhm.
or providing advice on things that, it's just not within our remit. We're a social media team. We always refer to the appropriate channels for that. But now we're seeing people who are like there for a chat and part of our community, and the community is sort of really showing up in different ways for us and really showing up in different ways for each other too. And there's been a lot of really valuable conversations within the comment section, and we are evolving our tone of voice to accommodate for that and really being audience first minded and meeting them where they are, which is really special and exciting.
So
It's fun to
exciting.
be part of.
It sounds so fun to be a part of. I got a little bit envious then. I was like, this sounds really cool. I have a question, 'cause a lot of health professionals that I work with their copy, they're often a bit hesitant about showing personality and showing their humanity because they think they'll be quote unquote unprofessional. And so I'm curious to hear about what your take on that is and what you would say to them, given that you're changing your tone of voice.
Yeah, I'd be curious because I think it's a misconception that people align personality with being unprofessional. And I'd probably challenge them to think, does showing your personality equal being unprofessional to you? Like, what does that mean to you? And really drilling down where that hesitancy comes from. Because I truly believe personality doesn't have to mean silly, and personality doesn't have to mean unhinged or provocative or
You don't have to be like
controversial.
Duolingo or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Personality could simply mean warm and friendly
Mm.
and approachable. It depends on, who you are and why you're online and what sort of presence you're cultivating. But warm and approachable and friendly would equal professional, I think, for a lot of, health professionals that are online. Yes, I would really challenge their thinking and interrogate why they're hesitant and really interrogate why they want to be online as well too. Of what is the purpose of their social presence?
Yeah.
And if it is to cultivate a following and a community that you maybe then convert to clients, how are you going to cultivate that community? And it's much harder to do, I think, if you create a distance between yourself and your followers. But if you do show your personality and you become more authentic and relatable, then they may become more closely attached to you and more engaged with what you're doing. So it seems like a win-win. Whereas I think what you're saying is the perception is it's a lose sort of concern that, if you do too much, then you won't be perceived as professional and people may not follow you.
Yeah, exactly. Like you were talking about the silliness, which is, I think, more and more because people are showing their personality more. And particularly, there's a lot of influencers who are like health professionals and they're showing their humanity, which I think is beautiful. But yeah, I was just curious to see what your take on that was. And yeah, no, it's exactly what I think.
Just going to say it's a tricky thing to balance. Like, to be fair to people who are concerned about that, it is a tricky thing to balance. You see these TikTok dances and people lip syncing to trending audio. And I don't think that naturally equals success. I feel like you can show up online and be full of personality without doing those things. I think that sort of is the way people think they can cut through in a very simple, black and white sort of view of socials. But if you make people feel something in your content, it doesn't necessarily have to be funny. It doesn't have to make people laugh. They can feel the other range of emotions available to us. They might feel moved by something or curious, or they might feel like they've learned something. I think expanding the idea of relatability and authenticity and personality on socials is really beneficial to just broaden your mind and think of the wide variety of options available to you that still equals personality.
That's it. And that's an interesting point that you made, that maybe sometimes personality is equated with being like the TikTok dancers. There's a brand voice called the friends at the bar. And that's exactly that. It's friendly, approachable, that kind of thing. But also what you said there about how you're starting to communicate with your community and just calling people besties, like just that one word there, like shows so much humanity and personality. It's really cool. I'm so excited to see the journey there.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's a really cool time to be in the team because I think it's so bizarre people being interested in what you do when you're just doing your job. And the team does their job so well. Like they're the best in the biz, in my opinion. They're incredible at what they do and individually so talented as well. But it's so weird how interested people are because, typically when you work in government, media, comms, socials, whatever it is, you're chipping away and you're doing your job and that's enough and you feel great. And that extra interest from outside is, yeah, really bizarre, but so exciting. It's been really special to see the team get the recognition that they deserve. They're just so good, so, so good. And all just lovely, lovely people as well. They really care about what they do and they want to make a difference. So they are making a difference. And yeah, it's such a pleasure to be part of.
Probably also a testament to you as a team leader and allowing them to have freedom and allow them to be creative and all of that. So I'm sure that definitely plays a part.
They make it pretty easy. I think when people come to you with brilliant ideas, it's very easy to say yes.
Oh, I love it. Well, I think I've covered a lot. Boop, boop, boop. Oh yeah, what is an unexpected shift or something that you've really seen change? We've covered quite a few, but is there anything in particular, maybe like moving forward, thinking about 2025 and what maybe things you're starting to notice now that might be a trend that people should look out for next year?
Something surprising is how unhinged brand socials are becoming. I don't know if you've seen the Nutter Butter TikTok channel. I've never seen anything like it. It is the wildest content strategy I've ever witnessed on feed. But it's working. It's really unusual how far I think brand socials are pushing the boundaries. Even Dunkin' Donuts did an incredible Halloween campaign with their Daddy Longlegs spider. That was, again, pushing the boundaries. Even brands like KFC are doing some really wild stuff, pouring oil over people and flour and yeah, just I'm constantly shocked at how much further the goalposts keep shifting with the unhinged nature of content. And it seems to be I don't know, catchphrase or the word of the moment is people commenting, this is so unhinged. I love it. It's unhinged. It's unhinged. It seems to just be the new humor, maybe. Humor isn't the playbook anymore. It's taking the humor a step further and it just being so provocative and so surprising that people just stop the scroll and engage with something because they cannot believe that somebody, especially a brand social channel, has posted it. So I feel like unhinged is definitely something I've noticed. And storytelling in a different way too. The narrative arc is so different on TikTok as it is on television or, a typical piece of entertainment. And that's been really interesting to watch. And even how serialized video content is becoming now. People's attention spans seem to be changing. They're invested more in multi-part series or longer form content.
Okay.
So that's been really interesting to observe as well.
Yeah. Because everyone always says about how short attention spans are and that you've got to grab people's attention and all of that. But that's also interesting that you've noticed that people are, wanting to have more content, but maybe in a different way. Or is it's still important for, of course, content to be quote unquote hooky, but then people are still wanting to stay there and follow up.
Yeah. And even on TikTok, they expanded. I don't remember how long ago, but I believe you can post 10-minute TikToks now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
I don't know too much.
so I feel like the channels are cultivating that opportunity to post long form content. I know they're all competing with each other. So obviously TikTok is trying to, cut YouTube's grass. From what I can tell, it's like television now. Television-like content now is on social platforms. People are watching episodes of TV cut into 20 parts on TikTok or, they're really bought into something that's happening in someone's life. They've presented at hospital and have some sort of injury or illness, and they document the whole thing from start to finish, and people will watch that happen in 10 parts and they become invested and they can't wait for part two. I feel like the way we are consuming entertainment is really changing as well. I think just from what I've observed, I think that's been really interesting in the last 12 months to observe definitely on TikTok and YouTube. And I wonder if that will continue in 2025.
That sounds like it, but that's a really cool opportunity to like storytell and bring your audience along for the journey. Does Queensland Health have TikTok? Is that
Not yet? We're hopeful. It's something that we would really like to do. And, there's a wonderful audience on TikTok for us to speak to. But that's hopefully something that will happen in the near future.
We'll have to, keep an eye out for that. But as a social, because when you were talking, I was just thinking, oh, wow, you sound like an excellent strategist, social media strategist. And so I was really keen to pick your brain about what are your best tips or best advice for maybe healthcare professionals who want to build a bit more of a presence on social media or even creating content?
Yeah, I think starting from the beginning is helpful, in the sense taking that step back and thinking, why am I here? What's the purpose of me being on whatever channel? And maybe don't go hard on all the channels. Start with one and do one well and show up in your full capacity on that channel before you expand. Knowing who you want to speak to, I think that's really helpful. Trying to work out what you offer that's different and why someone should follow you. I think it's quite arrogant to take for granted a follow. In our team, we really value our audience and appreciate them, and definitely do not take their engagement and their contributions to community for granted. And I think that's really important. I don't think a follower number is just numbers on a page. It's real people, and it's really important to think like that. What do you offer them? Why do you deserve their follow? And what have you done to earn their comment and their engagement with your content? And then really thinking about how to show up authentically. I know authentically is this all sort of phrase that gets thrown around a lot on socials, but how do you show up in a way that's unique to you and feels natural to you? The content that performs best for us is very user generated. It's, people talking about their day at work, or people showing what it's like to have a procedure done. And I think if you can show up in a way that's very natural, it's easier to create content because you're not putting on a persona and you're not trying too hard. I think people see through that. If it's heavily scripted, very, very well produced, it just doesn't work as well as, shooting on an iPhone, talking in your natural tone of voice, showing that you're human by having a few little bloopers in there or something surprising that happened as part of the filming process. And then also thinking about the entertainment factor, because people are on socials to be entertained. If you're adding your voice to their nightly scroll, what can you do to package up the information you want to share in a way that's entertaining? And I know I've, said this already, but entertainment doesn't have to be funny. It just has to be something that makes people feel something, and it can be any range of emotions. So thinking about what you're putting out there in a way that's packaged neatly. You might be surprising that something that you're saying is, provocative or interesting or unique, or you're sharing your own personal story so it's relatable, or you're giving a behind the scenes view so it feels special and you feel like you're getting a look into something you never would before. So thinking about that entertainment factor, which can be really challenging. It is really hard to cut through and really hard to create entertaining content, but it definitely is meeting people where they're at for why they're on a platform. People aren't necessarily scrolling through to get a really information heavy lecture on a health behavior. You can couple it up with really funny or interesting or heartfelt narrative and weave in your messaging in a way that they can easily consume it. It's not hard. There's no mental load. You're not asking them to do anything. They're purely being entertained and they're learning something at the same time.
Oh, it's so useful. Wow. Thank you for that. I'm just, yeah, my brain's going like, please ideas. I'm actually in the middle of writing a post for my psychologist profile, my Instagram there, because, you know, like the movie Wicked's coming out this week. And so I did a little bite-sized like analysis of Elphaba, the character. But it's so long. And so now I'm thinking maybe I should split it up into like 3 or 4 parts kind of thing. Yeah. So that's definitely very helpful there. It's giving me something to think about. But also I love the idea about like creating like educational, entertaining content, but that's also valuable as well because I remember when I first started on doing social media, people would often be like, give your audience value, like value, and that's often associated with education. But value can also mean just, yeah, like being seen, having a laugh, or like feeling a deep emotion, which I think, yeah, I love that you see it in that way as well, or your team, you know, sees it like that.
Yeah. Part of our criteria is, you know, we don't post anything that doesn't have a deeper purpose. So some brands will do something that's just for engagement, purely just to reach people, and there's no deeper purpose. But, you know, we would never approve something to go up on feed that didn't have a preventative health message or a message that enhanced someone's system literacy and didn't have that core value as part of it's like almost like a criteria. It has to have that deeper message and deeper meaning for it to end up on our channels, because it's a big responsibility. You don't want to put stuff out there that doesn't have. So yes, it's engaging, and yes, it's entertaining, and people might look at some of the stuff we post and think, oh my goodness, that is wild. I can't believe they posted that, or that's really silly or strange or surprising. But when you look at the whole content, the first comment, and the way we're engaging in the comments section, it can be so, so meaningful, even though on the surface it looks funny and silly and maybe not so meaningful.
Yes. Because I think a lot of people want to know about a lot about, maybe I'm talking about myself, like go straight to the comments and read what people say, because oftentimes the comments are like, yeah, there's some really smart people in the comments and they'll make certain points or it'll be entertaining. But I always love it when you see the brand or like the business replying as well. I think that's really nice and shows that sense of community. So is that almost like a full-time job for someone responding to?
Yeah, we have someone in our team that does moderation. So that it is seriously a full-time job, the amount, because our audience is 1.4 million. So you can imagine the amount of comments. And we see comment moderation as equally as important as the content creation. So I truly believe if you put up a piece of content and you ghost everyone in the comment section, it's this huge missed opportunity, and the content just does not perform as well. And it's so important, I think, for the brand that my team represents, is to show up in the comments and answer people's questions and direct them to more information. We take it sort of a next step as well, and we have a comment strategy for a lot of our posts. So we know a very obvious one is the Mean Girls status update. I don't know if you saw that. It was, give us a Mean Girls quote and we'll make it healthy. And it was such a great way it's that Trojan horse, you know, people are reading the Mean Girls quotes, but they're learning about sun safety or sexual health or whatever it may be. And these might be people that would never in their life engage with health information otherwise. Yeah. So for that post, it was very much, we just spoke in Mean Girls tone of voice the whole time. Or if we've done a mosquito post about mosquito-borne viruses, we comment with lots of ease, like, she's happy because we're pretending to be a mosquito. The pooing at work one, it sounds so wild, but we decided to create the voice and persona of that we were actually pooing at work while we were commenting. And it was crazy, and it sounds so weird for a government agency to be saying, oh, I'm pooing at work. But the goal of that was to normalize a taboo health behavior. Cool. And that has behavioral science that backed it. It was not norming, which is very well proven that by norming a behavior, it encourages other people to adopt it. And yeah, we were obviously advocating for that health behavior in a way that was funny. But again, it was getting that health information out there in a way that people would just never consume that info otherwise. And it's really effective and quite powerful. And I think the success of the
So
content
powerful.
that the amazing team here creates is testament to that. It definitely works. It's worth the
Absolutely.
perceived risk because the benefit is incredible.
Oh, I really like that because so many good quotes. Yeah, I'm gonna have a hard time picking out a good quote for this episode because you said so many good things. But I like that. Yeah, it might be scary. It might be a risk to put out content, but like the benefit of that could be like huge for your audience. Like, and that's
Yeah.
makes it
Yeah.
so
And if you're
important.
thinking about not just reaching people, reach is our ultimate goal. If you don't reach people, they're not going to get the information. So of course, reach is so, so important. That's our main goal with all our content is reach. But you've got to think about behavior change. And even if someone has the health professionals that you're talking to, even if they just have the goal of trying to convert a follower to a client, that's still behavior change. And it's still really important to think about your language and your strategy and your approach to content with that goal in mind, because then you have a purpose. You're not just showing up to be present on socials, you're showing up with a clear goal. And that way you can really tailor your strategy to whatever that goal is. And it really helps with that purpose and it drives everything. And it does make it easier to show up when you know exactly why you're there.
Oh, it's so cool. Thinking about all of this. I think I'm going to have to get you on again because I have so many questions, and I'm sure we'll get so many questions as well as like follow up from this. But before we wrap up, I have a section that I do as rapid fire questions, just because they're questions that I always like have for people, and so I thought it'd be a cute thing to put them into the podcast. But first things first, what is your favorite film?
Really hard, Caitlin. I think I love so many films. I've got two little kids too, so I don't actually get to watch a lot of movies I want to anymore. It's very child movie dominated. But I could think of two, and it shows a theme. One was Veronica Guerin, the Irish journo's story. Kate Blanchett was in it. Amazing. And then the Spotlight movie, I could go back and watch that again and again. Rachel McAdams' character, Sasha. So I feel like I must have a thing for strong female leads in journalistic hero stories. But yeah, they were my two things I could think of.
Yeah, a little bit like you, I should imagine, on some level. And but I haven't seen those films, so I wrote them down because I'll definitely have to follow up with some watching those. And what's a concert that you'll never forget?
I saw NERD in London back when I was in my early 20s, and it was just the best time. I loved them back in the day, and it was, yeah, an awesome crowd, and yeah, the vibes were high. So yeah, I think that was my most memorable concert I can think of.
Did you used to work in London then, or
I lived there for
longer?
almost 2 years. Yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
work there. It was a gap year. So
Oh, no.
I went and had a good time and lived my life and traveled and went back to uni and could focus. And yeah, I feel like it was such a good experience as a young person to live on the other side of the world and travel.
Good on you.
Yeah, such good times.
That's cool. And what's something that's like quirky or absurd about you, or something absurd that you love?
I think I have a lot of quirks. My brain works very quickly, and I usually talk 100 miles an hour and think in a very weird way. But one thing I could think of, it's weird talent that I can take a song and change the song lyrics and remember them. I have this weird memory where I remember things musically. And if I was to try and memorize some facts for a uni exam, for example, I would never remember it, but I made songs out of the facts, and I'd walk into an exam and sing the song and recall all the facts and be able to do well remembering things.
It's incredible.
And it's a good skill, I think, in socials. We've got some content coming up where we've reimagined songs with healthy lyrics. And it's definitely a good skill as a mom too. I feel like my kids' dreams come true when I make up songs with their name in it. They think it's hilarious. So it served me well, but it's definitely a weird skill that typically has no purpose.
Typically has no purpose, but it's been helpful in, creative ways. That's so cool. And before we finish, what do you hope the audience takes away from our chat today?
I think if they're working in the social space, it's to have fun. Just be there and be you and enjoy it, because it's a really special place to work and exist. I feel like socials are such a unique blend of creativity and of impact. And yeah, I feel there's definitely pitfalls of working in socials, and we obviously are all well across the things that are problematic about social media, but it is a really fabulous space to be in. I love my job. I love coming to work every day, and I think it is because of that special mix of being creative, being strategic, and actually having the opportunity to make an impact. So yeah, I would encourage them to see the opportunity and have fun and enjoy being in socials and showing up as they are.
Beautiful. You definitely inspired me, because I've been having a little bit of a lull with my socials and a bit like kind of not feeling very inspired. But I think today's chat's definitely kickstarted that. I'm like, now I have all these ideas about things that I could do, and just even what you said about thinking about the audience. So thank you so much for today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's been lovely chatting with you, Caitlin.
Thank you. All right. That's the end of another episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to Healers with Hustles. If you've enjoyed today's episode, will you do me a tiny favor and subscribe to the show? Just tap the subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform, and you'll be the first to know as soon as a new episode drops. Thanks so much for listening. Okay, ta-ta for now.